let's talk a little bit about writing tools. I'm also interested in what you guys use, so please let me know in the comments below. You never know when there's a more efficient system out there until someone tells you and you investigate. So always let me know in the comments below what you guys are using, not only to write, but also to organize your work. So one of the systems I personally have used for years is yWriter. yWriter is an open source program. It was made by another writer and is free to use. So the basic premise is, as you can see, really simplistic. It's very stripped down. There are little to zero distractions. But what is built into the system is the ability to chop things into chapters and then chop them further into scenes. And this is just done automatically in the system. You don't have to necessarily set it up to do that. And when you start a new chapter, you are always prompted to give some kind of general goal for the chapter. Pretty much what happens is every time you create a new element of the story, it asks you to pretty much make a rough outline as you go. So for someone like me that's kind of a pantser, this is invaluable because even if you aren't creating an official outline, you still need to have a general goal of what you're doing in each scene you write. You need a purpose and a direction. So even if all you can do is create a goal for that exact thing you're doing right now, that's good, because then you can keep yourself from meandering too far off course. So this is really useful. Each chapter, it'll ask you for the goal of the chapter, and then each scene that's opened within a chapter asks you a similar question. And you don't have to put something in there, but like I said, it's really good to have some kind of general goal of what you're doing. And yeah, I really recommend it. I can't recommend utilizing that tool enough. There are things like a word counter down at the bottom of the screen. You can also set up things like alarm systems, so the entire program can alarm you to write during the day. There are tons of tools I actually haven't used that are available in this program. There are ways to chart what you're doing. There are ways to see the fluctuations of your productivity throughout the days. There's a lot you could do with this program. I just use it for the very basic functions. Now, once you are done with your writing, you then can export it into a regular rich text format file, which is kind of like a basic text file format. And should open in most basic programs. Now, for me personally, I love the system because it doesn't have any distractions for me. Unlike Scrivener, which I'm going to get at in a bit, there's nothing in here to distract me from the act of writing. I can't really go, I mean, I could create some character sheets that are in there, but they're bland looking. They're stripped down and hideous. And that's actually a good thing in my case because it keeps me focused on the draft and just doing the first draft and getting it done and finished. And so it's wonderful for zero drafting. And that's what I primarily use it for. yWriter is my first draft. Everything else after I usually transfer into Scrivener or some other program because yWriter does not have spell check, which isn't as much of a problem now because Grammarly is a thing, but I do use Grammarly, by the way, but it's just better to edit in other programs, generally speaking, than in yWriter. But you could use yWriter to edit as well, and I believe there are add-ons and extensions that you can add on if you wish, because this is an open source program. I just don't. So yeah. That's where I do my zero drafting. Now, once I've gone beyond zero drafting and I want to start editing, this is where I transfer the file. So usually I will transfer just a rich text format, and I will open it up in a very basic document program. So for me, I use LibreOffice. So LibreOffice It's been around for a really long time. If you are a poor college student, you've probably heard of it and probably already have it because it is way cheaper than paying Microsoft for their mediocre product. I've used it for years. I use it for the scripts for a lot of these videos if I didn't write the script down like I did today. You can also utilize it for spreadsheets and countless other things, but I mostly just use it for the writer aspect. So once I have a document in there, if it's a longer document or just short story that I wish to add to a compilation of short stories, I will then copy and paste that into Scrivener. Now I really do wish, like, Scrivener does have some importing options. I have played with them a little bit. I found them to be finicky and they tend to add a lot of strange formatting I didn't ask for. So I'm iffy on importing. Usually I just end up copy pasting into the program. I find that to be more efficient. Even if it is a pain in the butt, you can do a select all and just go about it that way, and that's what I usually end up doing. So it doesn't take too long, but it does avoid some of the technical issues that some importing has given me. I will say though, I do not think this program is worth it full price. I think paying the discounted price after you complete NaNoWriMo is really the best way to go. And I think if you're interested in Scrivener, my best advice is to either complete NaNoWriMo yourself or have a friend who completes it and doesn't want the code and can give it to you. So yeah, please don't pay full price. I personally don't really feel like this program is necessarily worth that. So Notion, you've probably heard about this before as well. Most people, especially on BookTube, use it to keep track of their reading lists. I personally use Notion to keep track of all of my projects, including my filming schedule for YouTube. I usually am filming so many videos, especially right now because I'm pre-filming for 2 months. I've got so many projects going continuously that I have to have something that shows me a breakdown of absolutely everything. And honestly, as I said in my Finding Direction video, like, I struggled for a really long time trying to force my brain to think like most people's brains do, and I would constantly fail because I was setting myself up for failure. When I finally realized how my brain works with how tasks are done, I just started doing what my brain naturally wants to do and just doing it in a way that helps me be productive. So things like Notion help because they give me a task list that I can move around at will, but like everything's out. But unlike a physical piece of paper where I then have to erase or, you know, rewrite something, which my brain sees as a huge mountain to climb, by the way. My brain does not like that thought. But put in a system like Notion where I can just click and drag things, just my brain is like, oh, I like that. I can do that. That's not strenuous at all. I can do that. So then I can get all the tasks done. It's so dumb, but that's just how my brain works. Some other programs I use online, in addition to Notion, is I utilize Zone.hours. So this is a system that utilizes body doubling, which I've spoken about a little bit before. This is once again trying to work with my brain instead of working against it. So my mind really does like to have people kind of around in order to accomplish tasks. So in addition to utilizing things like live streaming on YouTube, I really do recommend utilizing systems like this that are based on accountability. So it's a room with a timer, you can add friends, and there is a chat feature and a video feature, which I haven't tested. But really what you're supposed to do is go in the room, put a bunch of tasks on your task list. Your friends also have tasks lists, which you can also see. And you set a timer. You can play lo-fi music if you want. Lo-fi music is sick in that system. It's a really good mix, actually. There's only like one track I skip. But you keep each other accountable. You're like, okay, hey, how much did you get done during this hour-long timer? And it works. If you need to take a break, there's a break button you can click. There's solo mode as well if you are alone. I found that this is really easy because my brain wants to check off the tasks naturally, and by setting a timer, it reminds me that time exists. Whereas if I don't have timers going, even if I don't end up completing the task, when the timer goes off, it reminds me of what I was doing in the first place. And there have been times where I got distracted by something, the timer goes off, and I realize I didn't complete the word count because I got distracted by something else around me. Like I was watering my garden and then just stared off into space for 30 minutes. So the timer kind of pulls me back to reality, pulls me back to the real world. And so I find it really, really useful. When I do have friends in there, we can kind of check on each other and be like, oh, what were you able to get done during the last hour? It's a really, really good system and I really recommend it. I'm not gonna lie, I have a really, really hard time remembering to back stuff up. There is a way, however, to set your computer up, at least with Microsoft. I don't know with Apple. I'm assuming there's something similar there. But there is a way you can set up tasks on Windows, so it creates a task for itself to back up stuff for you. So you do have to go in some options in some windows to set up your hard drive so it just auto backs up all of your work at certain times of the day. The only catch is you definitely need to make sure that your hard drive is attached to your computer so that information is somewhere to save to. Or you can have it save everything to a cloud. Once again, you need to make sure your computer's on and you need to make sure your computer is attached to the internet in order for it to accomplish that task. But that's a good way to do it because I forget. You could also set alarms. That would be another great way to go about making sure that you actually back up your stuff. And then of course, in the physical realm, I have things like my board and my bullet journal. This bad boy, which is big. So I will use a combination of journals like this, note journals like this, and then that board, which I'll show you in a second. So all of these things keep me aware of the tasks I'm doing. I will say the board is actually one of the most necessary parts of all of this because once again, I found how my brain works is if it's closed, like this journal is closed right now. This is dead to me because it's closed. If I open it up, if I open it to the page I'm currently on, I'm more liable to complete things. I can't just, I live in a small apartment outside Tokyo. I can't have just journals open everywhere. So I have to close them and put them away. But if I close it and put this away, it suddenly doesn't exist to my brain. So that mood board reminds me, hey, you have tasks, continuous tasks that you need to be doing. For more information, open your journal. For more information, open Notion on your computer and start working through your tasks. And so far, it's worked fantastic. But I have to have something open that I can visually see and read at any time. I can't have it closed or it just doesn't exist in my brain anymore. Thank you guys so much. Maybe this was helpful. Maybe.